Dolls can be creepy enough without adding a little tale of mystery or terror to the mix. But the following dolls are no ordinary playthings. They're possessed with evil spirits, haunted by former owners, and soaked in blood. From a doll that curses its new owners to another that was dipped in human remains. Here are 10 dolls that hold dark secrets and real curses. Number 10. Robert the Doll. This doll has been called the most evil doll in the world, and it's not hard to see why. Robert Eugene Otto was born in 1906 and lived on an island in the Caribbean. He was an only child until his parents got him a companion for Christmas when he was 4 years old. It was a doll named Robert. As he got older, Robert became more and more lifelike, sporting real human hair and glass eyes. Eventually, he was even dressed in custom-made clothes. Robert didn't just look like a real boy. He also acted like one. Eugene would swear that the doll was alive. And so the other servants and townspeople thought he was just an imaginative kid. However, when Robert started hurting people, they all took notice. Robert seemed to get loose whenever Eugene wasn't around, and would smack people upside the head or pinch them with his tiny fingers. One time he was found standing at the foot of the stairs with a knife in his hand and blood dripping down his chin. Needless to say, Eugene's parents were horrified, but they still couldn't believe a doll could be possessed by a demon. After all, they'd been told stories about their island being cursed and didn't want to believe it. But as the attacks grew worse, they eventually decided to destroy Robert. They locked him in a chest for 20 years. But when they finally opened the box, Robert was gone. The legend goes that he's now haunting the island looking for revenge on those who wronged him. No, 9. The Doll Bishop. In the early 1800s, there was a traveling showman who put on puppet shows across England. His name was Richard Manship, and he traveled with his brother Joseph and 2 puppets. The puppets were of a bishop and his wife, and they were very realistic. Manship would do his best impersonation of the bishop and tell stories that were supposed to save sinners. But people soon noticed that something strange was happening. The puppet bishop would suddenly move on its own and even speak with a voice, not its own. Those who saw it said it was like a miracle. Soon, people believed the doll was possessed by the spirit of the actual Bishop Bartholomew Deeren Wood. When Wood died, he left behind a legacy of good deeds, and many people had prayed for his intercession in their personal matters. People started telling stories about how the doll bishop had predicted events in their lives and had even cured illnesses. Of course, this was all nonsense, and the doll was nothing more than a clever trick. It was actually Manship who was controlling the movements of the doll bishop through a system of strings and pulleys. He was also the one who recorded the sermons and then played them back in the puppet's voice. Despite this, the show went on for decades and earned the brothers a fortune. When they died, the doll bishop was put up for auction. It's unknown what happened to it after that. Number 8. The Hookman Doll. This doll is a prime example of urban legend, and there are dozens of versions of its story. But they all have one thing in common: a killer with a hook for a hand. The most popular version of the legend goes that a man with a hook for a hand stalks women and kills them. Then he takes their skin and makes dolls out of it. Some versions of the story say he was an escaped mental patient, while others claim he was an executioner who killed his victims and made dolls out of their skin. Whatever the case may be, the story goes that if you see the Hookman doll in your nightmares, you'll die in 7 days. There's no evidence that any of these dolls are cursed, but that hasn't stopped people from believing the legend. In fact, the Hookman doll has become an internet sensation. And there are even rumors that the FBI is searching for the killer. Who knows? Maybe the legends are true, and there really is a killer out there making dolls out of human skin. 7. Annabelle. If you've seen the movie Annabelle, you know how terrifying this doll really is. But what most people don't realize is that Annabelle is based on a real doll. Annabel Higgins was a young mother who lived in Connecticut. She bought a doll for her daughter, but soon began noticing strange things happening around the doll. At first, it was small things like books falling off shelves and doors opening and closing on their own. But then things started to escalate. One day she found the doll sitting in a different room than where she'd left it. And another time she found it hanging from a tree in her backyard. Terrified, she took the doll to a priest who told her it was possessed by a demon. She was advised to get rid of the doll, which she did, and the strange things stopped happening. However, the new owner of the doll soon began experiencing strange phenomena as well. To this day, the doll's whereabouts are unknown, but it's rumored to be cursed. Whoever possesses it will experience strange and terrifying events. Number 6. Stuffed animal mummies. When you think of mummies, you probably imagine ancient Egyptians and their elaborate burial rituals. You wouldn't think that someone would try to mummify a stuffed animal, right? Well, it turns out that people actually have done this, and not just once. Throughout history, there have been several cases of people finding stuffed animals that had been mummified. The most famous case was in 1920, when a group of children found a mummified teddy bear in the attic of their new home. The bear had been wrapped in bandages and buried deep in the walls. No one knows who put the curse on the bear or why, but the legend goes that anyone who touches it will die within a year. Another case involved a stuffed monkey that was found mummified in an Egyptian tomb. The monkey had been cursed by an evil spirit that caused anyone who touched it to go insane. And then there was the case of the mummified cat. This cat was found in a woman's home after she died. The woman had been an avid collector of cursed objects, and she was said to have placed a curse on anyone who entered her home. No. 5. Dybbuk box. If you're looking to buy a cheap piece of furniture online, you might want to steer clear of anything that looks like this. This particular box was sold on Craigslist in 2001, and the new owner soon began experiencing strange phenomena. Strange lights and sounds, moving objects, and shaking beds. At first, the family thought it was just a run-of-the-mill haunted object. But as time went on, the activity became more intense. Doors slammed, drawers flew open, and books fell off shelves. The family soon realized that they were dealing with something more sinister. It was a Dybbuk box, and it was cursed. The box had originally belonged to a Jewish family who had been killed during the Holocaust. Their souls were trapped inside the box and were now tormenting the new owners. Eventually, the box was taken to a rabbi who performed an exorcism, but even that didn't work. The souls were too powerful and refused to leave. To this day, the box is cursed, and anyone who possesses it will experience terrible things. 4. Marionette. This doll was created in 1888 and was named after the daughter of the toymaker who designed her. At first, the doll was just a regular antique that people could purchase. But as time went on, it became cursed. People began to report strange sightings of the doll, and soon it was said to be haunted by the ghost of the little girl. Some say the ghost is friendly, but others claim she's out for revenge. Either way, it's best to stay away from this doll. 3. The Black Doll. There are many dolls that go by this name, and that's because there are many dolls that are cursed. One of the most famous black dolls is the one owned by Ed and Lorraine Warren. This doll is said to be haunted by the spirit of a young girl who died in a house fire. The Warrens were paranormal investigators who collected cursed objects, and they believed this doll was one of the most dangerous ones they ever came across. Another black doll was the one owned by Helen Acton. This doll was said to be possessed by the devil himself. Helen claimed that the doll spoke to her in a demonic voice and told her to commit evil acts. Eventually, she had to get rid of the doll or risk being corrupted by it. Number 2. The Haunted Porcelain Doll. Many porcelain dolls are said to be haunted, but one of the most famous is the one named Margaret. Margaret was a beautiful porcelain doll who was loved by her owner. But one day the girl drowned, and her soul became trapped inside the doll. Now, the doll is said to be haunted, and anyone who possesses it will experience terrible things. Number 1. Bloody Mary. Everyone knows the story of Bloody Mary, the ghost who haunts bathrooms and appears in mirrors. But what most people don't know is that Bloody Mary was based on a real person. Mary Worth was a young woman who was brutally murdered in the early 1900s. Her killer was never caught, but her spirit is said to haunt bathrooms to this day. Some say she's harmless, but others claim she's out for revenge. Bloody Mary is one of the most famous ghosts in history, but she's far from the only one.